Okay, ganda. So you were saying na in
Ayan.
Ashoka, o you search
Yeah,
for
okay. Yes. So, yeah, so in Ashoka, we search select, and support social innovators. So, siguro maybe before I could explain like sino yung specific social entrepreneurs or social innovators na compelling, maybe I first need to give a definition of how does Ashoka see social innovation and social entrepreneurship, no? So,
oo,
which is
oo.
I think a very important lens that we should all have, no? So we know that in the I think the general perception or the knowledge of social entrepreneurship in the Philippines is that this is a business that's helping out communities or performing essentially a social good.
Mm,
Tama? Yun. So,
mm.
so it's not your traditional business. It's not just a for-profit business. It's normally the serving social good is about, supporting a specific community. Can you hear
Mm.
me, Mr. Ro?
Yes, yes, I can hear you, oo. Okay naman, okay pa naman.
Yeah. Please, please just nudge me if I'm becoming choppy.
Okay, sige, sige, oo. Pero
Hello?
yan, okay naman Miss Abby, okay pa.
Ayan, sige.
Very
Baka merong lag.
oo, so far
All right,
good,
see,
good.
very clear. Okay, sige. So, all right. So that's our normal in the Philippines definition, or at least perception of what social entrepreneurship is.
Yes,
In
oo.
Ashoka, social entrepreneurship, or at least those what we call systems changing social entrepreneurs,
Oh,
are social entrepreneurs that are solving problems that are what we call sticky problems or complex problems in society. So maybe an example with this one would be um, plastics, marine litter. Di ba, studies have shown that Philippines is number 2 or number 3 in the world as
yes.
the worst polluter in terms of marine plastics, no? Maybe another example would be marginalization of a lot of Filipinos in terms of employment. So that's another very sticky problem. Another complex problem would be lack of access to water, no? Especially
Oh,
marginalized communities in the Philippines. So ito yung mga example ng big problems
mm.
na na hinahanap ng Ashoka. And we're looking for social entrepreneurs who will address these problems at the root cause. No? So,
Oh.
parang yung doctor, halimbawa, nagkasakit tayo, punta tayo sa doktor, so tatanungin ng doktor, ano yung nararamdaman mo, ano yung symptoms mo. So
Oo.
normally, a doctor will address the symptoms of the problem. O sige, may sipon, may ubo, bibigyan ka ng gamot for sipon and ubo. But a good doctor will always look at bakit ka may sipon at ubo. Bakit ka merong palpitations, or bakit mataas ang sugar mo. So hindi lang niya bababaan ang sugar level mo or i-address yung symptoms mo, yung ubo, sipon, pero gusto niyang malaman what's causing
Mm.
those symptoms. No? So a systems changing social entrepreneur are looking at what's causing the problem at the root cause. Because Ashoka believes that it will actually be systems changing social entrepreneurs who will mainstream a different way of thinking and doing things. No? Kasi ang nangyayari sa mundo natin, na-realize natin, for example, the problem of plastics. No? So maybe this is a very good story kasi tsaka mas madaling maintindihan.
Mm.
The
Mm.
problem of plastics. Nakikita natin, it's so evident. It's everywhere. And
Yes.
the solution that we always think about is, oh, bring your own bag or recycle your plastic. It's okay to use this plastic for as long as there will be a facility that will recycle it. Tapos yung plastics gagawing pellets, tapos gagawing material for construction of new schools, or ano pa ba? New
School
schools, or
tables, school chairs.
school tables, school chairs. Yan, diba? It's good. It's really good. But it will not stop us from generating more plastics. It will not stop companies from using those kinds of plastics still, because the thinking is that meron namang pupuntahan yan sa huli, no? So it's not addressing the problem at the root cause. A social entrepreneur who will address the problem at the root cause will probably think of what is a better packaging, or how might we actually lose packaging altogether. Or essentially, from the onset, when you think about designing your business, you design waste out. You design pollution out of your business already. So simula pa lang, hindi mo naiisip, wala ka nang naiisip na, at the end of the life cycle of this product, meron siyang ma-generate na waste. You design your business from the onset na at the end of the life cycle of the product, walang waste na mapoproduce. Or everything will be, as we know this now, everything will be circular. It's not anymore going to be a linear economy, but actually a circular economy. Nothing gets thrown away, nothing gets wasted. Everything goes back into the system. So that is a very classic example of systems changing solutions. So Ashoka searches all over the world. So we are present in 90 plus countries.
Wow.
And we have around 4,000 social innovators or social entrepreneurs, systems changing social entrepreneurs that we're supporting. So in the Philippines, we presently have 15 already. So, but you could imagine, ang laki ng population in the Philippines.
15 pa lang.
Pero 15 pa lang. I don't think that's an accurate number. I think we have more systems changing social entrepreneurs out there. So there is a real compelling reason for us to look for them, bring them into the limelight, expose their works, so that we could bring their work at a national level, at a national scale. Yeah, so that's what Ashoka does. Kasi we realize if we normalize, if we mainstream the very impactful work of these systems changing social entrepreneurs, then it will become the norm for the Philippines. Then things will start changing. Diba? So if we make it the norm, if we make it mainstream, if we make it normal, that this is what everyone is doing already.
Wow, hindi siya simple, no? It's
Yun.
sabi nga, it's complicated. Pero Miss Abby, can you relate one social entrepreneur or system changer na you nurtured, you mentored? Can you share one? Yes.
Yeah. So maybe one, I could talk about one of the earlier. Well, I think she's the first social entrepreneur in Ashoka. So the social entrepreneurs that we support in Ashoka is called an Ashoka Fellow.
Oh,
so
Ashoka.
they become an Ashoka Fellow, and it's actually a fellowship for life. So the first one is actually the founder of Kite Foundation.
Kite? Oh yes, okay.
You're familiar? Oh yeah, Miss Vero. You work around this space. Yes.
Cancer, kids with cancer.
Yes, kids with cancer. So the founder of Kite Foundation is Girly Lorenzo. She's our first.
I know her.
Oh, there you go. Fantastic. So
okay.
She's our first Ashoka Fellow. And amazing what Girly has done throughout the years, no? How many years of existence of Kai. She normalized care for kids with cancer. So right when they started, it was just very ad hoc, very few volunteers who's doing this one. But right now where Kai is that they were able to nudge government, have policy changes in government that every hospital should have cancer care for young kids, because the care for cancer with kids is different, diba? They're young individuals. They have different needs. So Girly was able to mainstream that. When I say mainstream, it has reached the level of policy implementation. So
Oo.
policy na siya. Hindi na siya na, the normal social entrepreneurship we know is that, oh, in this community, it's being done. Maybe we scale to another community, it's also being done. So systems changing siya. It has become present in almost all hospitals. They could train hospitals. They could transfer the system of care for kids with cancer to all these hospitals, because it has reached policy level change that all hospitals, all care facilities should have this infrastructure that they could care for young kids with cancer. So that's one.
Eh, how about yung sa business side? Yung as in, parang kumikita, yung business.
Yes, definitely. So we know that, I mean, these are all good things if we're able to help people. But
Yes.
for it to be able to continue to help people, it has to be sustainable also.
Oo.
So those are one of the things that we also look at. If the social entrepreneur has a sustainable model for financing the social good it is creating. So
Oo.
it's always very important. So, and we're looking at different models of sustaining it. So for example, Kite is a foundation. So
Mm-mm.
it is reliant on grants, but also it has perhaps specific systems business model also that's able to generate or sustain its own operations. So we're looking at different models of sustaining of operations. Maybe another example of a systems changing social entrepreneur. Two examples could be, one is Ryan Hersava. Ryan Hersava is Virtualahan. I think
Oh.
Ryan Hersava is our youngest Ashoka Fellow in the Philippines. Virtualahan provides jobs. Actually, not just provide jobs. First muna is provide skills training for
Oh.
persons with disabilities. No?
Wow.
So when they're able to provide skills for persons with disabilities, they're also able to help out in terms of providing employment for them. So Virtualahan does rely on grants and support, but it also very much, how do you say this one, sustainable as a business, because a part of the business model is that companies that would hire them would also provide some profit back or some income back into the school, into the Virtualahan school.
Mm-mm.
So that's an example.
So virtualahan, virtual yung learnings ng PWDs for the skills.
Yes, and it's
Ang
interesting
galing.
because Virtualahan has been in existence way before the pandemic.
Mm.
And so when the pandemic happened, they were not disrupted at all.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Galing.
because if you look at the Ashoka YouTube channel, you could actually see a video of Virtualahan,
Mm-mm.
and very concrete examples of how it operates. So you could see the founder Ryan Hersava talk about Virtualahan and show the lives of the persons with disabilities and how they were upskilled, because they don't have means of actually going to a school or a training center. No? So, but what they can do is be able to be provided with a computer and get their training from there, and they can render their services also when they're employed from home, so they can work from home.
Oh, so more on business skills o hindi
Uh,
handicrafts.
no, well, no, not so much in the handicrafts, but more of technical skills, computer skills
Oh,
actually,
oh, wow. Ay, yun talaga.
digital skills.
Yes, but that is what is needed now, 'di ba?
Oh, so it's essentially Virtualahan was ahead of its time.
Oo.
When the pandemic happened, that's when people started, prioritizing or making a significance out of, it's important that I have digital skills. For Virtualahan, it has been the case since the onset.
Parang visionary si Ryan, no? Mm.
Super.
Oo. So, may I ask yung mga social challenges that I can say kahit si Ryan lang or and si Miss Christine that they face, 'di ba? Meron tayong financial resources challenges, meron tayong siguro values challenges or government policies challenges. Yun, ano
Yeah,
yan?
most definitely. All of the above, all of the above that you mentioned, Miss Vero. Especially if you're looking at since their systems changing, it's inevitable that they need to influence and to work with government. No, so and they need to work around the bureaucracy of government. They need to work around the
True.
the system of government. They need to work around how do we actually influence policy, because that's the only way that they will be able to uh, have that scale of impact in terms of the solution that they have. No, so they have to go through it. That's why this whole concept of grit is
Yeah.
very true. The
Oo.
life of any businessman, any business person, an
Pero
entrepreneur is
yeah.
not an easy one. So people are saying that mas maganda. I'll be an entrepreneur. I'll be my own boss. But
Mm.
actually, it's so much harder to be your own boss. Also, it's so much easier. I don't know. For me, it's so much easier to also be employed, because you have the security of a fixed income. You
Yes.
have you have the you have the safety of an infrastructure and a system that will support you and will guide you as you go through your service or your employment. But when you're an entrepreneur, you create all these things.
Mm.
You
Mm.
create your income, you generate your own income, you create your own system. So there's a lot of discipline and there's a lot of perseverance, grit. No, so
Mm.
so a normal entrepreneur will have to have that, and this is probably magnified to the nth level 100 times perhaps for a social entrepreneur, because you're not just trying to chase profits, diba? So a social
Oo.
entrepreneur will chase profit, but more than anything will have to chase impact, diba? So it's so much harder. That's why when we actually nominate and appoint somebody as an Ashoka Fellow, this person has really gone through a lot, gone through a lot of weathering financial crisis, also team operations crisis, setting up your team, making sure everybody has a buy-in in the team, everybody's vision and goals are aligned in your team, in your enterprise, in your venture, but also working with partners, working with companies, working with government, so that you could achieve your goals of impact and profitability also.
Oh, pero Ashoka also gives financial support to them?
So the support that Ashoka provides, so we realize what we have seen is that a lot of the social entrepreneurs, actually it's a lot of startups. They bootstrap, diba? So it's a concept of called bootstrapping. So you in sense of bootstrapping is that your operations is so lean, you
Mm.
because income and capital is low, you actually perform a lot of the functions. And most of the time, social entrepreneurs pay themselves last. So they keep working, they pay their employees, their teammates, but they don't pay themselves. And what happens when they don't pay themselves is that they burn out and they quit, because
Mm.
it's not working. I need to survive. I need to feed my family also. They stop. And for us, it's sobrang sayang, because you're creating this very good change, and we need you, social entrepreneurs, to be able
Mm.
to continue what you're doing. So the support that Ashoka gives is actually a stipend for the social
Oh.
entrepreneur. So we don't provide funding for the organization, because we know that the organization that they built is designed to be sustainable. So we don't need to support that. But what we
Mm.
need to support is the social entrepreneur, the visionary, the operations
Wow.
person who's actually making sure that this venture will keep churning the impact that it's doing, that it's generating. So we provide stipend for the social entrepreneurs. So it's a commitment of providing stipend for the social entrepreneurs so that you could also be comfortable and you could be assured, you know, I don't have to starve for me to be able to do this work that I'm doing. We help set them up for that until such a time that they could actually provide income for themselves already.
Oh, wow. So, sobrang sobrang na-amaze ako tsaka sobrang may ganyan pala. Well,
Yeah,
I
it's a different model actually.
yes, yes. I hope we have more system change makers in the Philippines.
Yeah,
Let's pray.
that's a very good point, Miss Vero. And this is something that I'm so passionate about. Because in hi-fi, when I was there, and I know that's still happening right now. We want to change the lens in terms of how is social innovation and social entrepreneurship viewed. Because sa
Mm-mm.
totoo lang, if we just teach social entrepreneurship as is, eh, baka mamaya we'll just create a lot of products and services and systems and processes that are not addressing problems at the root cause. Then it's
Oh, yes,
futile.
yes.
I mean, social entrepreneurship is designed to address problems. But
Yes, yes.
the
Oo.
the social entrepreneur needs to be equipped with this mindset that, hey, I'm gonna design something. I'm gonna create a product or service, but will this product create more waste? Yes, it's helping one community, but it's also creating more waste. Yes, it's helping one community, but it also has unintended consequences of perhaps poverty or marginalization. So we want to equip social entrepreneurship. We want to equip social entrepreneurs with the lens of let's think in systems.
Mm-mm.
Kasi para makita natin yung sa ginagawa ba nating operations, ano yung unintended consequences ng ginagawa natin.
Oh, wow. Miss Abby, what do you think are kasi although we all want to be maganda, 'di ba, system changer, social entrepreneurs, but in your experience, what are siguro yung ingredients or character traits ng person na if you see them, alam mo, pwede itong system changer, maging social entrepreneur.
Oo. Very good question, Miss Vero. In my years of working with young
Mm-mm.
and not so young uh, founders, social entrepreneurs, and even myself. I mean, the way I have also, I think, matured in my thinking as an entrepreneur, as a social entrepreneur myself. Um, what I noticed is a very good trait is not falling in love. What you thought about is the solution. Because what I see is that a lot of social entrepreneurs, they get so attached with what they're doing, and they're gonna reason out uh, in terms of they're gonna reason out to make sure that what they did will survive. For me, a good test is that this is a person who will always question what they're doing. No, so meron siyang capacity for introspection,
Mm-mm.
uh, for profound thinking talaga. Okay, what am I doing? Ano bang impacts? Ano bang effect ng ginagawa ko? So always questioning what they're doing and always questioning their operations, questioning in a healthy way.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
it's
mm.
it's okay every now and then to, it's not about doubt, but it's always check on yourself and check what you're doing, because this is the only way we start creating the building the habit of, it's not this aspect of the work that I'm doing, this aspect of my business is not working, or it's not creating this impact that I thought it will create. So let me fix that. Let me kind of tweak that. maybe it's not even a complete pivot, but it's actually maybe a small change in your business or in your prototype, and then you keep testing again. So for me, it's always that checking on yourself, um, in terms of what you're doing. Is it still doing the good that it's supposed to be doing? Is it generating the profit that it's supposed to be generating, so you could sustain your operations? But another thing is that the bravery, to actually keep testing, keep trying new things. So that's why when I go back to what I said earlier, I think this whole the way upbringing of my dad, that I was raised to be on an adventure always, and to be brave about trying new things. I think that's super important, because a lot of times businesses would not change. That's why they get disrupted. Oh, this is so
Mm.
comfortable. This is already working. Why will I change it? For now, it's working. But an entrepreneur with good foresight, forward thinking, futures thinking, is an entrepreneur that's thinking about what's coming up ahead. You're always trying to sense what's happening around you, and because you're sensing what's happening around you, you wanna always do quick tests of, maybe if I do this, will it generate? You have assumptions of, maybe it will generate this kind of result. So you test it. You quickly test it. So you need some sort of boldness and bravery, to actually test. So yun, for me, Miss Vero,
Oo.
introspection, the capacity to check yourself, introspect, and then that boldness and bravery to keep experimenting.
Oo. So, ang Ashoka, upon, 'di ba, upon orientation or starting to nurture a system change maker entrepreneur, you also orient them with yung checking your or assessing your business every once in a while. Kasi baka hindi nila alam paano gawin.
Mm. Okay. So maybe, when we talk about the Ashoka Fellows, so maybe there are two things. The Ashoka Fellows, they know what they're doing already. When we select and
Oh.
and 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 appoint them, so when they get selected, and then they go through a very rigorous process, Miss Vero.
Oo.
It's a global process. So every Ashoka Fellow goes through a global process. That's, every Ashoka Fellow in other parts of the country go through the same thing. It's a very rigorous process, that their business model, their new idea, their personal integrity, their ways of
Oh,
partnership
wow.
and collaboration, it's being screened. So they go through that process, and they get elected, and then when they pass the process, they become an Ashoka Fellow. We don't really need to keep checking on them in terms of, tama ba yung ginagawa mo? Because what we have observed is that we're the ones learning from them. So what we need to do is study what they're doing and share it with the rest of the world. So
Oh.
that's the Ashoka Fellow. But we also realize that there are emerging entrepreneurs. There are younger entrepreneurs, which we also provide the space for. For example, this year we just finished our, we call it DIWA, deepening the impact of women
Ah.
activators. So women social entrepreneurs in the ASEAN. So it's 5 countries. We've been providing this space, this platform of giving capacity development to women social entrepreneurs in the ASEAN. So I think we have around 10 or more in the Philippines this year. So yun, we do mentor them in terms of business model, in terms of systems thinking. Because when they come into us, it's a normal social entrepreneurship. It's a normal social enterprise. And then when they leave, we're hoping that they now have this capacity to think in system and question, am I really solving the root cause of the problem? Or I'm just creating a dent here, and it's just addressing a symptom of the problem. So yes, we do that for the emerging entrepreneurs, Miss Pero.
Oh, yung emerging entrepreneurs, should they continue to be entrepreneurs or wala namang cost that you invested on them? So if they decide not to be social entrepreneurs anymore, okay lang sa Ashoka?
Uh, for for the emerging entrepreneurs, we actually do not provide funding. So our support is really in terms of the mentoring and connecting them to the
Oh,
huge ecosystem of support. So whether that's financing, social financing, impact investors, VCs,
mm,
NGOs, philanthropists, that's what we provide because Ashoka is a huge network globally. We
yes.
could connect them. We could connect them. So when they're well mentored and it seems like they're attractive, impact is very clear, sustainability is very clear, then they really become attractive for support. So, but Ashoka in itself does not provide them seed funding if that's what we're asking. But the
Mm-mm.
support that we're giving them is actually the network support and the mentorship for these specific programs.
Oo, pero that's sobrang ano na yun, very kumbaga that's already very valuable yung mentoring.
Oh,
Oo,
yeah,
sobra na.
if you monetize that,
Yes,
if you
true.
monetize it, assign a monetary value to the mentoring support coming from different experts globally, then yeah, definitely it's worth a lot.
Oo. Incidentally, I have a friend, I don't know if she continued, si Miss Amanda Bonife. So, for DIWA, this
Oh,
year, oo, ano siya sa scoliosis
I
PH. Mm.
I think she did. If I'm not mistaken,
Oo,
I think I reviewed the applicants for DIWA, and I remember that. I think
yes.
she did, if I'm not mistaken.
Oo. So, I think also she's doing well kasi I can see her progress in ano,
Yeah,
social media.
yay. That is
Yes.
good.
Oo, thank you. So, Miss Abby, we're towards the end of the interview. So, for you, what are the general barriers in social innovation for the, yun nga, system changing entrepreneurs? Generally, sa experience mo, what are the barriers that they tell you or they experience? Mm.
Yeah, for the Ashoka Fellows, kasi these are the systems changing social entrepreneurs.
Mm-mm.
Barrier would definitely, I think, as in most cases, it would definitely be funding support, because a lot of these entrepreneurs are presenting new ideas, and and sometimes the new ideas are not easily, how do you say this one, people do not easily get it, it's not common. It's most of the
Mm-mm.
time it's not a tangible, like I provide this product or this service, no? So it's not, most of the time it's not always like that. um, and it's very, ano ba tawag dito, systems changing social currents idea they provide is quite huge, no? So the raising funding also is quite difficult. But as we know, there are a lot of Ashoka fellows. It's definitely not impossible. So it's always about finding the right partner with aligned values. No? So I think more than getting funding support, I reframe my answer. Is finding partners whose values are aligned with you. Because
Oh.
even if you find a company, an organization, or philanthropist who say, okay, sige, I am willing to support this venture, I'm willing to partner, pero iba yung intention ninyo in the end,
Intention.
iba yung values ninyo, then it's not gonna work, diba?
Yes, yes,
So
true.
it's always super important that you partner with an organization or an individual na aligned ang values ninyo. And that's always hard to find. It's like a marriage, diba?
True.
It's hard to find a partner
Mhm.
for life, no? So essentially, when you partner with an entrepreneur, it's like partnering for life as well. Being really invested in, and this is the common vision that we have. So agreeing on that common vision and finding those kinds of partners with aligned mission is not easy. So I think that's one.
Mm.
um, Another thing I see is also building the team. A major ingredient for being an entrepreneur is always collaboration. but setting up the organizational structure in a way that supports your mission and your way of impact is also kind of tricky.
Mm-mm.
And being able to sustain your team, so being able to keep your team, and then I hear a lot of the Ashoka fellows also thinking about how do we actually build a succession planning, because a lot of times the huge responsibility is on the founder,
Mm-mm.
diba? On the
Mm-mm.
founder. And syempre yung founder, for example, balik tayo sa example with Kai Foundation with Miss Girly Lorenzo. Miss Girly Lorenzo just retired from Kite, no? Actually, officially this year, she retired from Kite. And that was one thing that she really prepared for, that somebody could actually take over and make sure Kite Foundation continues on its path and even bring it
Mm-mm.
to newer heights, no, better heights. No? So succession planning, building your team, your organization, and then finding aligned partners. I think those are the major, hindi naman siya
Ay,
barrier, but it's
pero
really a challenge.
challenges, oo. Naku, thank you. Eto, a couple of questions na lang. Do you think that the Philippines is a conducive country for social innovation or yung concept ng Ashoka for system-changing entrepreneurs? Honestly,
To
honestly.
dalawa sagot, I'm gonna ground my answer. Number one, social innovation is born out of availability of problems. Wala namang
Oo nga.
innovation kung walang
Oo nga.
problema, 'di ba?
Oo.
So I've had the blessing and the opportunity to witness a lot of social entrepreneurs in different parts of the world. So in Asia, in Korea, in Europe, in the US, I've seen it. And nakita ko in the first world countries,
Mm.
the problems that for example, SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, the problems that they're addressing is like, for us in the Philippines, problema ba yun? Parang hindi naman masyadong problema yan. Oo, parang for example, meal preparation for busy young professionals or busy people.
Oh.
So ang sustainable development goal doon is health and wellness, ganyan. But it's not a problem of somebody completely marginalized or somebody who will lose life, or an ecosystem that's going to completely perish or die because of this problem. So it's not a very complex problem. That's what I've seen. So that being said, in the Philippines, we have an abundance of complex problems.
True.
Problems, you say, name it, we have it. So for example, for me, I work with Chaos Pilot in Europe, in Denmark, and we do have a lot of projects. And when I talk to them about my own personal projects that I have with Kind Mind, when I talk to them about it, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that is huge, Abby." It's like a big problem, and for you to be able to help out in addressing that with government, it's like amazing. Because if you look at the problem that they're addressing, it's actually quite simpler. So in that case, yes, we do have an abundance of problems, but do we have the fertile soil or the good ecosystem for social innovators and social entrepreneurs to thrive? Right now, not so much yet. When hi-fi started, it was even less. It was quite unfavorable. That's why the push of Benil, that's why we founded Hi-Fi, is because we wanted to start creating the favorable environment, the favorable system to do things differently, to innovate. Kasi we cannot solve the problems that we have right now with the solutions that we have right now. We'll just create a continuous downward spiral. So we need to think differently and we need to do things differently. But that needs a conducive space, as you say, diba, with your question. So I think it's improving through the years. It has improved significantly now, but we're still not there yet. If you compare the ecosystem in Korea na lang, let's not go far. In Korea, in Indonesia, in Thailand, um, we're
True.
not we're not there yet. So there's a whole lot of work for what we call ecosystem enablers. There's a lot of work to be done with governance in terms of helping government, influencing academic institutions, which is a huge role to play, to think differently in terms of the education that they provide. Is our education system providing systems changing, systems thinking individuals? You may not be an entrepreneur, but you could be a systems thinker. Whether you are employed, whether you are a doctor, whether you are a lawyer or an entrepreneur, an engineer, an architect, you could be a systems thinker. So for me, that's something that's not yet happening, which I feel like is super important. So that I go back to my first point. You have an abundance of problems, complex problems. So you need to have an abundance of complex problem solvers, right? And
Oo.
and it's not just on the social entrepreneur who will solve it. An architect, a designer, a doctor, a lawyer, a real estate person, a multimedia arts person could help solve that problem. But they need to think in systems.
Yung Kind Mind, 'di ba? That's your company? Oo.
Yes, Miss Vero,
Oo.
that's my
Meron
my own. It's it's
yes,
a
yes.
it's a laboratory. It's a consulting and it's a laboratory.
Okay. Pero hindi siya it's not a business like you have an enterprise, hindi gano'n yung
Oh,
Kind
it is
Mind.
a business. It's a corporation.
Pero it's consulting siya or did you start a project or a system changing enterprise, yung Kind Mind? Yung sa'yo talaga?
Yes, yes, we did. So Kind Mind is so what Kind Mind does is actually to help institutions, to help organizations um, innovate and innovate through a system thinking lens.
Oh, okay. As in yung mga private companies?
Yes,
Gano'n?
private companies, but also a lot of the work that we're doing right now is actually with government.
With
So
government?
maybe one example is that Kind Mind in its very early days, we actually help the company behind Gcash, Mint.
Hmm, mm.
The
Really?
company behind Gcash, Mint, is actually we supported them thinking about ang design challenge nila is how might we help 1 million unbanked Filipinos have access to
Oh.
finance and banking services, right? So so we help them create strategies, innovation strategies, and solutions to get there. So I'm happy to say, like the Gcash that you know now, a lot of
Yes.
those ideas were birthed during the time that we had our workshop, our sessions together.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's one. And right now,
Oo.
one of the projects that we're doing is with the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao. I'm working with UNDP and with the Ministry of Interior and Local Government to help civic servants provide civic services. Passport renewal, ano pa ba,
Wow. Oo,
uh,
improvement
licenses,
ng system
provide
mismo.
improve their system, innovate on their system of providing those services to make sure it is accessible, it is inclusive, it is just and humane. No, so
Oo, oo.
that's what we're doing right now.
Dapat yung PhilSys pala, yung Philippine ID System, they should consult you kasi ano sila
Ang
ngayon,
tagal,
eh,
ang tagal, di
nasa
ba?
hot seat sila ngayon, 'di ba?
I know, nagpa-apply na yung mga tao, pero parang more than 6 months na, wala pa rin.
Wala pa, oo. Ayan, naku Miss Abby, meron ako isang isingit na question, yung about the healthy meals, yung mga Butuan, students, scholars.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm just curious, how do they sell the meals? Meron silang physical store or online?
What their model is to actually provide it to distributors. So they don't wanna
Mm.
they don't wanna keep their own store. This is as far as I remember, ha. I don't know
Yes,
anymore the
yes.
progress. I'm not able to keep track. But before, when we finished our support and support for them, is that they have distributors.
Mm-mm.
They consign to different outlets.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, Miss Vero, I have to
Oo,
go.
oo, o sige, one last word na lang, yung advice mo sa mga gusto maging system changing entrepreneurs. Yun na lang, Miss Abby.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, for me, it's super important that we have a systems lens, a systems change lens, because that's the only way we could really uh, evaluate and look at the problem is if we have that perspective of thinking in systems and
Yes.
not in isolation and in silos. So my advice is actually to just be curious. Honestly, to really just be curious. I was fascinated with problems, and the fascination with problems did not just end with fascination with problems, but fascination with in terms of what are people doing about it. What are the existing solutions out there? What are the steps to actually address these problems? How could I localize these problems to make sure that we address it in a way that's relevant to the Philippines? So always be curious. I mean, there was no course. I did not take a course on social entrepreneurship, and I think a lot of the founders that I know, as Ashoka Fellow, did not take a course in social entrepreneurship. They were experts in different fields. But one thing is for sure is that their 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 burden for the problem that they're trying to address was how do you say this one was supported by a tremendous amount of curiosity and grit to actually I will not rest, I will not stop until
Wow.
I
Okay.
actually find solutions for these problems.
Galing. Ayan. Miss Abby, thank you very much for your time and expertise. Thank you. Ayan. With
Thank you so
that, I
much.
end the interview. Bye.
Bye.
So,
Salamat, Miss
ingat
Vero.
lagi. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you.
you.